Oh, my biddies, how are you? Um, good. Got some good sleep last night, finally, for once. Slept in a little too late. Had a disastrous day. Not that disastrous. I went to do the reality roundup notes, and my computer did not have any power. I don't know why the battery was low because it had been plugged in for hours and hours before that. I don't know. Sometimes this computer does its own thing. Um, So I was not dragging the cord back out there. Sorry. I was already running late. Um, my husband left this morning. He told me he was going to leave. I thought he was going to leave at one time. He left an hour and a half after that. So I was already short on time and I wasn't dragging things back and forth other than the computer. So that did not get done. Um, what else is going on? Oh, the bald spot on my head. Isn't that nice? How'd that happen? Lovely. Getting old is so much fun. You put your shoulder out of joint in the middle of the night without even you knowing. You go bald. We all go bald. All of us, not just the guys. All of us. Um, it's better than it was last year. My hair is actually growing back in, and not losing it as fast. So that's good. That's a good thing. Because last year was bad. I'd been so sick and under so much stress that was not a fun time. Last year was not a fun time. The whole year was pretty bad, except for going to Seattle. That was fun. And New York. That was fun. Those are my 2 highlights of last year. Going someplace other than home. Um, how's your day? I hope it's better than mine. So schedule changed a little bit. I'm not gonna be on Friday at any certain time. I will be on, but I don't know what time it will be on because 'cause I'm expecting to talk to somebody. And we didn't set a time, so which is fine because it's Friday and I don't care. Um, so the husband's gone for 5 days. Hasn't done that in a long time. Hasn't been gone more than like an overnight for a long time. He was gone a lot this year, but not like days on end. He's at the nerd convention. The nerd convention in Chicago. But he's gonna see a friend. He might see his niece, so that'll be fun. Our niece. We don't discriminate against nieces and nephews. All right, so since I don't have a reality roundup, I guess we'll just have to go right into our Reddit reads. I'm gonna have a little bit more centered. Should I be centered? Unless I have something interesting on now. Yes. I mean, yes. Don't ask me what I'm doing right now. I did have a good lunch. I made myself some toast and eggs. That was my lunch. I plan to get a pizza later and breadsticks from Pizza Hut because we have a new old restaurant in town. Um, and I always love Pizza Hut breadsticks, so I'm gonna go get me some. My husband's not here to stop me, so do that for him. All right, the first one is from Am I Overreacting and is entitled Mom's Friend Made Me Uncomfortable. Am I Overreacting? Probably not. Probably not. So there is a text message, but it's real short. It just says, You've got to know, this is from the mom. Just got to know him. He meant absolutely nothing earlier. He's full of crap. I'm sorry if he offended you. I really wish you'd stop using the word offended. He made me uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I'll tell him. I don't want to talk about it anymore, so don't. Please don't. She says, okay. For some background, my 22 female. Mom, 47, female, I assume. Doesn't actually say. Has a male friend who hangs around our house a lot, so she has a boyfriend. He's never done anything outwardly weird to make me creeped out by him, but I get creepy vibes from him and I just don't really like him. So I try to stay away from me when he's over. I'm also just generally a shy person. I'm always nice to him whenever I interact with him, but I do avoid him. Today I was laying outside relaxing and I see him pull up to our house, so I almost immediately go inside to my room because I just don't feel like interacting and I don't expect him to come over. Didn't expect him to come over. Later, I come out of my room to start laundry, and he starts joking to my mom about how I left so fast when he came over, and that I must not like him. My mom laughs with him and says I should give him a hug because he knows I like him. Ew, no. Do not make your kids hug people, especially when they're 22 frickin' years old. Like little kids, I understand kind of pressuring them a little bit to hug grandma sometimes. You shouldn't do it. I don't, I ask for hugs. I don't demand them. If they don't hug, it's fine. The little one, so my son-in-law, Turkey, told the kids once he was all out of hugs. So now they use this as an excuse not to hug you. And it's adorable. He's like, I'm all out of hugs. I said, can I have a hug? No, I'm all out. Sorry. I'm always like, okay, that's fine. Then he says, okay, I found one more for you. He comes and gives me a hug. And it's so funny. We're trying to teach them to say the hugs are in back order. My husband's trying to teach them to say, my hugs are on back order. Sorry, I'll get one later. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. So anyway, but don't pressure people to hug people. Some people are not huggers. I have a friend who's not a hugger. I forget sometimes I'm a hugger anyway, but because I am a hugger. My brother-in-law says I have the best hugs. Don't know what that's about. Um, but yeah, I'll hug you if you want to or not sometimes. But don't pressure people to hug you. Don't pressure people to hug other people. It's not right. I came around the corner from the laundry room, jokingly said that I do like him. I thought, I think it was obvious, though, that I was uncomfortable. I was wearing a tank top and sweats with a cardigan. As I'm saying this, I guess I instinctively covered myself up with my cardigan while crossing my arms. And he said, now you know you don't have to cover yourself, cover your, the words meaning breast that starts with a T, and more than one. As he's laughing, I honestly dumbfounded. I don't know how to react, so I just went back to my room without saying anything because of how uncomfortable I was. A few minutes later, I get this text from my mom. I feel sick to my stomach. Am I overreacting? No, you're not. That was completely inappropriate to say to anybody of any age. Stop talking about people's body parts, especially if you're a man and you're talking about a woman. It's disgusting and gross, and stop it. Snoo Radishes says, NOR, but you're 22. It's a good time to practice getting vocal about putting creeps in their place. Along a length of rope. Answers, not saying you're wrong, but this comment would stun me speechless, and I don't blame OP for shutting down. Exactly. Sparkling Evergreen answers, I would have been stunned speechless even in my 30s. I think sometimes people urge us to be so strongly to be vocal that we feel like we've done something wrong by not demanding right treatment. We start to feel embarrassed for not speaking up, then really the other person should be the one ashamed. Exactly. We shouldn't have to speak up. They should not have done that. But freezing is a normal human response, and OP acted exactly how I would have, how many would have by default. Eris Morn says, NOR, that's really gross and inappropriate. Your mom should be on your side. Tea Taster Own answers, yeah, my mom's boyfriend stuck his tongue in my mouth under the mistletoe, and my mom believed I made it up because I was jealous or some odd chisel. Gross. They're so gross. I hope he is in hell. Love and nature answers people that care more about having another significant other instead of their own kids really pisses me off. Sex isn't more important than taking care of your damn children, like FFS. Yeah, people always choose the children came first, the children come first. And sometimes even if the children didn't come first, they come first, especially when they're being abused. Easy statistician says, NOR, please trust your intuition. So often women are taught to ignore it, which makes them vulnerable to all kinds of things over time. You don't need to make a big deal of it. Just don't let them talk you out of trusting yourself. It's a lot better to learn at your age than mine. It's possible that your mom tolerates this kind of thing because she was taught to ignore her instincts too. Thoreau says, dude, even my intuition is going off. Please take care of yourself, OP. Amen. No, you're not overreacting. You're probably underreacting, to be honest. Honest men like that need to be met with, "Ew, you're disgusting," and then walk up flounce away. Next, we have entitled people, and it is entitled "Woman Breaks Airplane Seat in Front of Her." Yikes! So I'm on my second flight of the day, midnight to 3 a.m. 6:30 midnight to 6:30 a.m. That's a long, terrible flight. I've been on that flight. It's not fun. And I'm pregnant, tired, sore, dehydrated, and already thrown from an issue with check-in with my previous flight. I board my Avianca flight to get to my seat, 21A. A middle-aged man is in my seat and his wife is in 21B. I'm just so tired and I don't want to argue, so I take 21C of the aisle and they give me dirty looks. As if they're miffed they don't have to have the row to themselves. I just want to be away from these people, so I talk about upgrading to an exit row, but I can't because I'm pregnant. After we hit cruising altitude, a woman points out there are two seats open in the row ahead, 20. She suggested I move to that row now. Annoyed, I said the announcement clearly said that we need to sit in our assigned seats for the duration of the flight. She scoffs and said that I could move to row 20. You could move to row 20, lady. There's two seats there. Then I saw something I've never seen before. This woman takes her shoes off, puts her bare feet into the black mesh magazine holder in the seat in front of her. She pushes it down with her feet until it's parallel to the floor, perpendicular to the seat in front of her, with her knees now up close her chest. After a few minutes, it broke, and she and her husband seemed surprised. Yeah, that's another footstool, lady. I decided to flee. I do move now to row 20 because I'm genuinely concerned that these people are unhinged. The lady folds down with once my tray table and 21C to place her stuff on, stretches out over the two seats to sleep. I waited until they were off the plane to talk to flight attendant about what happened because I was genuinely concerned that this lady would lose her crap on me. I don't know. They didn't do anything that egregious. I mean, telling you to move is kind of egregious, but breaking things. She just wanted your seat, lady. Have you not figured that out? She just wanted your seat. They're rude and I can't think of the word. Rude and incorrigible. That'll work. That's not the word I was thinking of. But I don't think they were unhinged. I think they were a little out of it. I'm not reading the comments. It's that kind of day. Next is murdered by words and says love instead of debt. This is funny. I got to show you this one. I don't usually show this one. This is my new favorite picture. This man couldn't afford a ring, so he proposed with a kitten. Julie says starting a new marriage with not being able to afford jewelry is wild. James says starting a marriage with love instead of debt, absolute insanity. I still say Julie's right. If you don't have the money for a ring, you should probably not be getting a ring. It's probably not a good idea. And a kitten is also money. Westcott says, "Will you marry me? You got to be kidding me." Zulu says, "Will you answers or replies? Will you answer my question, meow?" I'm gonna cream you funny. Uh, answers, "I meow." You pronounce you mom and dad. Andrea says, "I like to think that while talking, she said something similar to wanting to be proposed with a kitten instead of a ring. He listened, remembered, and proposed with a wholesome kitten. I hope they live a long, happy life. Actual story might be different, but I choose my version. I like this version better too, to be honest." Coppolar's answers, "Actual story is not so adorable. That kitten wasn't wholesome at all, and when he grew up, he started a Manosphere podcast." Avoid Manosphere podcasts. They're not good for you. Aussie Bounty says, "I literally did that, not because I couldn't afford a ring, but because I knew there was a much higher chance of me screwing up a ring choice than picking a cat she didn't like. And yeah, no chance of her saying no because she'd been dropping hints to get married for 4 years." And then there's cat tax. Look at this cat. Look at this crazy cat. Looks like Tony a little bit. But I know Tony was not a proposal. Well, Tony was not a proposal cat. All right. Next, we're in Big Bend National Park again at the fossil bone exhibit. And the 1-star review is from Crutch in New Braunfels, Texas, entitled "The Big Bend Over." COVID capitalization at its best. So this was in 2020, of course, August of 2020. Full price admission, but nearly everything closed. Side roads, paved roads, even the roads to the river were closed because somehow that prevents the spread of COVID. Or maybe they just didn't have the people to man those places. Ever think of that? A long way to travel to see nothing. I mean, you didn't come from Michigan, so not that long. Uh, Asked one millennial ranger for a refund as we tried to exit the opposite end of the park, but she refused, saying the funds go to service the public toilets. Wow. 10 cents for a crap turned into $30 in a few short years. Exiting the way we came in, the ranger who sold us pass completely understood and tried to give us a refund, but the computer issue prevented it. Yeah, right? He's lying to you, you idiot. They can't give the money back. You paid for it. You bought it. Keep it. I noticed plates on his car, and he was ex-military and served in Afghanistan. It says as a apostrophe Stan. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I swear. I swear. I can't get over it. What a difference in attitude. Anyways, unless you want to grab your ankles and do the big bend over, just stay away from Big Bend until the Branch Covidians feel they have eliminated all risk to your health. This is a MAGA guy for sure, because they have your best interest in mind. Or maybe they don't have the people to man what you need manned, sir. Maybe everybody has COVID. I didn't get my garbage picked up for 2 weeks because of COVID. Because they had too many people with COVID and they didn't get the garbage picked up, even though I pay for it out of my own pocket. I don't have, it's not paid by taxes. Like having a park open at full price with everything closed, because that's also doing in your best interest. Everything was not closed. The paved roads were open, the hiking trails were open, the gas station was open, and the fossil discovery exhibit was open. The visitor center was closed. That's no big deal. Certain roads were closed. Unpaved roads were closed, but maybe that's, what time of year did he go? August. Just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you get it for free, sir. And that is lying to you. There was no computer issue. Promise. Next, we have traumatized them back and is entitled, I told a stranger that I don't have a mother after she complained about my dad on Mother's Day. Good. I, as someone who grew up without a mother, completely behind you on this one. My dad is my mom. I, 19 female, my dad, 70 male, went out to eat yesterday, which happened to be Mother's Day. We didn't go out with the intention of celebrating or doing something special, just enjoy eating out. Well, we get to the restaurant, and one of the tables that share one big booth couch on the table next to us was a couple that seemed to be in their 40s or 50s. We hadn't finished out sitting down when the gentleman at the table said very loud and clear, "Congratulations." Neither me or my dad thought much of it and just said thanks. However, the lady at the table didn't like that and started telling them he shouldn't say that as there wasn't a mother with us. I did hear the gentleman say, "Well, it's just common courtesy. It's a special day." At this point, my dad is sitting in front of me, and we are at the corner table, so that's the furthest away from the table where this couple is. Since my dad is on the other side, I often read the menu out loud so he doesn't have to struggle. I begin reading, and the lady from the table goes, "Well, what do you think? What do you think? You are his daughter or granddaughter, right?" To which I answer was in fact his daughter, and I kind of scooted over more to the corner so she couldn't see I wasn't really into her argument with her husband. Said husband was also not at the table at this moment. Well, this lady starts getting closer on the couch and keeps going, "Well, I don't think it's right to congratulate him. It's Mother's Day, not Father's Day." Shh! They didn't do anything, lady. Who are you talking to? Your husband that did the stupid thing isn't even there. Oh my goodness. I didn't give her an answer, and honestly, didn't want to answer in hopes that she would just drop the issue. She obviously didn't and kept ranting how special Mother's Day was. Mother's Day is not that special. If you've experienced a Mother's Day, you would know this. Mother's Day is always a disappointment. Always. And how it should be respected. Go respect it yourself, lady. Where are your kids, lady? Where are your kids? Where's your mom? I don't see her around. I don't see your kids here. While she's going on, I'm trying to keep reading the menu to my dad, but she keeps interrupting since she was very loud. And then she said, "Actually, your dad should apologize. It's not right for him to be congratulated. It's not his day." I snapped back, "I don't have a mother." She looked flabbergasted and then started backing away, but I heard her say more softly that it doesn't matter, to which I said, "My dad has been both my mom and my dad. He should be proud, not ashamed of it." Good for you. That was it. Went back to helping my dad with the menu. The gentleman came back to the table and they talked for a while, and they left soon after this. I'm not sure if they had really planned to leave or she actually got so upset that she decided to leave. But she couldn't keep quiet about how rude I was or that I was ruining her day. Lady, you inserted yourself into their day. They didn't insert themselves into your day. The only rude person here was your husband. All this in much louder voice than I would have liked, but it didn't ruin our die now. Okay, Independence says she ruined her own day. Well done. Exactly. This person probably never had a Mother's Day that she enjoyed because she ruined all of them. That's why your kids aren't there, because of how she is. Guaranteed. Melodic Sale says she was probably angry the whole day because her own children didn't want to spend time with such an insufferable person, though she demanded them to do her so on her so special day. Stable Brilliant says now we know why they weren't there with her. Second top rated comment is from Farah Shah. Why why do people think they're the gatekeepers for such occasions? Could have been your dad's birthday for all they knew. Spring Available says, in fact, May 10th is my dad's birthday, but I wanted to say you afforded her so much more grace than she deserved. Happy Mother's Day to your dad. And the third type rated comment is from INC. I can't imagine being so socially dense that I would feel it's appropriate to comment on total strangers' lives like this at a restaurant, FFS. The seventh power says, and then demand that the strangers apologize for being congratulated under false pretenses or something. Gonna break it answers. This is the part I don't understand. How dare I congratulate you? Apologize to me. Yeah, it's wild. Like, what the heck, lady? Where do you get off? Where does this lady get off? I cannot find my little guy. I don't know where he went. Excuse me for a second. There he is. I found him hiding out in the back. He's hiding out in the back 40. It's also very warm. Computer was blowing right on him. Next is from What Should I Do? And it is entitled, I'm being gifted a lot of money. Should I tell my boyfriend? No. He's only your boyfriend, not your husband. I, female 22, have been dating my boyfriend, male 22, since high school, 4 or 5 years. We have a very strong relationship. I love him very much. Honey, do you? Do you even really know? It's the only person you've been with since school. Since you were what? You don't even know. 4 or 5 years. You don't even know how long you've been with him. We've been living in his mom's basement suite, paying $500 a month until we can save up to buy an apartment somewhere. Personally, I have enough saved up to put half down payment. That's only because I'm privileged enough not to have student debt, which is not the same scenario for him. He's very adamant that he won't accept help from anyone, and he wants us to be able to move out on our own. My stepmom is very wealthy and invested some money that grew, so she has decided to gift me and my siblings $5,500, $55,000 each. As a young woman with no experience handling money or life in a relationship, I really don't know what I should do here. I don't want to create something weird in the sense that I have money and he doesn't. But we also aren't married, so I don't know what to do. If it's a business, or if I should just put it away in savings and pretend it doesn't exist anymore. What would you do? Pete says, no, a 22-year-old financial advisor doesn't know what he wants, doesn't know what he doesn't know. Source, I'm a financial advisor of 30 years. Find a financial advisor you're not dating and in love with, trust me. Edit, since everyone keeps asking, Opie said in the comment that her boyfriend's a financial advisor. No, because he's going to do what's right, good for him and not for you. Rosar says this, I knew an unmarried couple and the guy fancied himself as a financial savant. He convinced her of it as well. He ended up losing his money, her house. Love can turn us all into idiots. Elon is musky. Answers, yeah, I've seen far too many. My husband, who took care of all the finances, gambled it away. Everything we have stories. Well, you got to know that they're not a gambler, first of all. My husband, both of us, neither one of us. So we spent some time in the Vegas airport recently, like last year. Neither one of us could find the fortitude to actually gamble in the machine. We're so lame. I want somebody to go with me and help me do this. He's got a friend that would do that. He's got a friend that gambles all the time, gets all kinds of free stuff. Specialist Stuff is a second-rate comment and says, don't tell anyone, move silently. Oh, my pretty garden answers through the shadows, wearing a hood with a scythe across your shoulder. But I agree with this. Don't tell anyone. Invest it. Find a financial advisor to invest it for you, or put it in CDs or something safe. Put CDs or bonds or something safe like that. Responsible Storm says, you're too young for this. Invest this money and forget it exists. Do not mention it to your boyfriend. If you're ever actually married at some point where you have developed full trust, that's a different story. Agree. 100% agree. And so does Just Speaker. Next, we have malicious compliance, and it is entitled, have you ever used malicious compliance to deal with ridiculous work rules? How did it turn out? Of course, that's what the whole thing is about. Working in a large manufacturing plant and needed to change a testing procedure. I was the expert and I knew exactly what was needed, so I updated the procedure and sent it out with an effective date to start, and management had a fit. Of course they did. You can't make this change without input from all the different users. You need to have review meetings to gather input. Okay, so I scheduled a big review meeting and invited over 20 people from different groups and levels of organization, and no one showed up. Sent the new procedure back with a note saying all those who attended the review meeting agreed with making the changes. That's excellent. And implemented the new procedure. Everyone was happy. Multiple managers apologized for missing the meeting, but they were really glad I had taken the time to get everyone's input. Don't you know how to make meetings mandatory? Or Jay Renner says, I love how management didn't question management speak. All in attendance. Well played. Alexa Boy Howdy says the only thing better would be to order donuts and perishable snack foods for the meeting, which then, of course, you get non-perishable snack foods. Then, of course, you get to take home because no one's was there to eat them. Free food. Uh, Somebody answers, uh, also expensive to the company. Well, of course, you don't buy that stuff on your own. Second top rated comment is from Burning Joint USA. I work in logistics. I was told to focus all of my efforts on the metrics, which are basically customer concerns that come to me from the company's online customer portal, because the responses are timed and tracked by management. Customers cannot call me directly. All phone calls come from corporate personnel who are dealing with customers' concerns in their geography, excuse me, that overlaps in some way with my geography. So I stopped answering my phone. It saves me a ton of time, and I don't miss a single metric since then. I haven't answered the phone in over a year now, and I've heard management in my facility complaining about the increased volume of calls they're having to deal with themselves. It's weird that they haven't caught on, but since I don't track phone calls as part of the metrics, they told me to focus all my interest on the metrics. I don't think they ever will. Your mom's apron says answers that which gets measured gets done. Come and get your pug says the micromanagers rule that lasted an hour. My manager tells me I'm wasting too much time on informal requests, that she must now approve all requests no matter what no matter what medium, call, chat, etc. they come from. I tried to reason with her, saying you're taking like 40 requests per day. She pulled the I'm your manager called. All right, say less. The very next request is an I am from the COO. She's in a meeting and needs something. I'm sorry, per manager, I'm no longer allowed to accept requests like these. Please reach out to her to make this request. All I got in response was, I understand. Wouldn't you know it, I get an email about an hour later saying I can go back to using my best judgment for informal requests for the time being. uh, Somebody says no, answers no dramatic fallout for your story, but I imagine your manager got a foot broken off in his or her butt. All right, moving on. Next, we have Evil Buildings. This is a broken seaside apartments on Kamchatka Peninsula. Yeah, the ocean has a habit of doing this, and so do very large lakes, like great ones, because that's what they do. It's really sad. Kamchatka, the only reason I know where that's at is because of Risk. Uh, Zimny Kiffer says, reminds me of some scenes in Inception. And Mowgli says, in every apocalyptic movie ever, because that's what it looks like. That's what apocalypse is. Or the fallout from it. Abominable Rex says, the thumbnail, I thought this was a sandcrawler on Tatooine. And Dry Commenter says, I love this view. I had 3 deleted ones and I found them all. You're welcome. We'll get back to that later. AITAH for getting irritated at an elderly lady who wouldn't take no for an answer. No, probably not, because she was being annoying. You can get irritated at anybody you want. For any reason, anytime. You have a right. You have a right to feel your feels. My wife, daughter, and I were eating at McDonald's this morning, and an elderly lady walks up with a brown envelope and says she's collecting money for St. Jude's and would I like to donate. No, thank you. If I wanted to give money to St. Jude's, I will send it to them directly. I don't know you. I don't know what you're doing with the money I give you. Maybe you're an honest person and you're sending it to St. Jude's, but I don't know that. I politely decline and explain that all I have on me is a card and I donate a significant sum to them at Christmas in memory of my grandmother who used to do the same. The lady walks off to another table and comes back to us and asks if we have any change whatsoever. And I say no. And then she says I could go get cash back. And I go, ma'am, my family and I is eating, as you can see. Please, you can please go about your day. Lady walks off and then comes back one last time and starts asking again before I end up going, lady, leave us the wang alone. A lady at the table over from us goes, you don't have to be an a-hole. AITH here. No, not at all. And that other lady can mind her own wanging business. Top comment is from DM for Tiny Players, and yeah, they leave the comments. They take away the post, but they leave the comments. It's weird. But even if they didn't, they have comments on the other one. So we're all good. DM for Tiny Players says NTA lady was probably a scammer. That's my guess. Baby Blue says, yeah, people who collect donations for an organization that big usually have identifying t-shirts and a table outside the front door, brochures and other ways to make themselves known to the public. They don't approach people asking for donation requests. Emmer does not rep me, answers, they also don't solicit donations from inside the place, which is already donating literally thousands of dollars a year to a children's medical charity. The various children's medical charities, Children's Medical Network, Shriners, Masonic Charities, Ronald McDonald House, and St. Jude do not poach from each other's territory because there is enough to go around, and every one of them has their lane for fundraising. Ginger Maple says, NTA, you were polite to her and she escalated. I would have probably told the staff that the lady was bothering you. I'm surprised they would let someone solicit inside the restaurant. Loch Ness says, to be fair, it's McDonald's, and I doubt if any of the employees cares enough to stop her. Yeah, they're not getting paid enough for that. For sure. Wolfie Park says managers would because there's no solicitation sign at each entrance. If you're harassing customers as someone who hasn't even bought anything, you're just trespassing. Kuza is the third top rate comment, and they say NTA, sometimes you need to give the root energy back to root people. Tony Baloney says, first time, politely declined, flawless. Second time, I say no, again, flawless. Maybe she's absent-minded and no need to escalate unnecessarily. Second time, part two, she says I could go get cash. Oh, hell no, thin ice, lady. Third time, we have authorized use of lethal force. Bubble Tuli Pie and also answers, not every situation needs endless patience, especially in a public space. If someone won't respect their clear, no, the reaction is usually going to get sharper. Exactly. All right, next we have Neighbors from Hell. Is entitled, Teenagers Pushed Us Too Far and Probably Got Their Family Evicted. I try to be a polite neighbor. You're not going to see me often, and I won't seek out conversation. But when the new neighbors moved in, I will go and introduce myself and offer Ryan and my spouse's phone number. This is a nice neighborhood. It's completely normal to give Christmas baskets or let somebody's dog out if they need it, and stuff we did for our previous next door neighbors. No one would complain about a random party on a holiday weekend. I won't be bothered by your kids playing loudly on the sidewalk. People behave, but they're not unreasonable about expectations. Especially since we live in townhouses that are all connected. There's just no way to eliminate all neighbor noise. All this to say, I don't think we have an unreasonable community expectations. Since these new neighbors moved into the vacant rental next to ours, we have nothing but trouble. They've only been here a couple of months, but they are second worst neighbors we've ever had. The absolute worst was a couple in our first apartment who resolved conflicts via fistfights. Ouch. First noise was a normal one. Their bass was too loud through the walls, a common problem since people aren't aware of how thin the walls were. We did the same thing. Our previous neighbors texted, we apologized and adjusted settings, confirmed they couldn't hear it anymore, so all was well. This is how you handle that. Hey, your music's too loud. Could you turn it down, please? Yeah. Is it okay now? How hard is it? We work from home and need to be in meetings, so we went over to ask them to turn it down and no one answered. Finally, we texted the mother, and the music only happened late afternoon between the time her kids would get home from school and when she would get home from work. Since it was a couple hours maximum, we let it go and didn't schedule any meetings during those times. We were kids once too. Well, you guys seem way more reasonable than most people. Then spring break happened. Either the mother works both days and nights or simply spends 18 out of 24 hours outside the house. Twice one night, my husband had to sternly tell her daughter's friends to stop looking in our cars, leaning on our cars, and screaming after midnight. 5 feet away from our front door, by the way. Then the next night, we catch him doing it again. My husband opens the door to one of the drunk little idiots popping a squat and pissing less than a foot from our car. My husband has, being a reasonable man, starts angrily yelling at them for pissing in front of our car door. The hooligan closest to the sober remember basic survival instincts and began to wrangle the rest of them into the house, apologizing sloppily but profusely. These are teenagers drinking. Call the cops. Call the cops. Underage, them- they'll be out of there fast. Apparently, a very angry, very big, very bearded man yelling will do that to you. Later, we have another text exchange with the mother. We make our stance known, and I'm quite proud of myself for keeping my temper in check. She said she would handle it, and at the end of the conversation, on good terms. Even though we were willing to try and be nice to give them another chance, they were little a-hole teens once and chalked it up to being to the height of spring break. We hosed off the pavement and tried to generate a level of patience hitherto unforeseen in either of us. We had about a week of peace, but the good times couldn't last. The teen girls have developed a small collective of devoted derelict boys who hang around outside their house several afternoons a week. Well, that's teenagers. Once again, they leaned on our cars, looked into our cars, and they were little a-holes. When my husband came outside, they tried to mouth off, but he asked them to repeat themselves, and they scuttled down the sidewalk. Rinse and repeat for a couple of weeks. That brings us to last night. We're fun and exciting people, so we were idly scrolling our phones while watching something. I like these people. They are fun and exciting in the way I am fun and exciting. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, and we noticed a fl- phone flashlight on our back patio. They had broken through our fence and were scrambling for a way out. We hear vaguely see whoever it is crash through our garbage cans on the other side. His options were to run that course, risk the 10-foot drop into the woods, or escalate into breaking and entering in a state where he would have become a statistic. In an obvious rare moment of intelligence, he chose the first option. The only thing that freaks us the hell out, and by the time we get our heads on right, we go out to the front to see the same GD teens scattering through the neighborhood like mice. One of them didn't get far enough away and tried to casually act like he was just walking by, but when we confronted him, he was clearly rattled. We weren't about to detain a child because we're not psychotic, so we let him go. He scampered off to wherever the little craps go when they're ruining everyone else's evening. They ran the other side of the problem house, had someone break into their back area as well, going the opposite direction, and I panicked. I reached out to the mom, convinced her daughters may have been hurt or that they were robbed. She brushed me off and got a little rude when I told her the trespassers had definitely come from her house and that every other neighbor said the same thing. That is not random uncle appeared. That is until a random uncle appeared, driven home by someone else. He listened to us and fed us the usual BS people do when they don't want to deal with anything. Lots of empty apologies, excuses for why the kids are alone, but apparently he told the mom that four adults were all saying the same thing. The working theory is that the boyfriend somehow knew an adult was coming back and probably sharing location, so they panicked and left out the back. My mom tried to walk back her attitude. The mom tried to walk back her attitude and apologized after hearing how many witnesses there were, but I'm not very forgiving once I'm at a certain point. It's something I'm working on. That no, you don't have to be forgiving after a certain point. You're fine. I did not accept her apology. Later, when we renewed our camera footage from the whole night, we saw the same little crap we stopped going into her house with the others about an hour before they trespassed. The same little craps came back later after the trespassing and lean on our cars, climb our cars, film themselves lip syncing for whatever reason. So we decided to go nuclear. To quote the certified badass Cobra Bubbles, excuse me, I came on suddenly. Cobra Bubbles, we're quoting Cobra Bubbles. Thus far, you've been adrift in the sheltered harbor of my patience. Mommy Dearest had no way of knowing this, but the neighbors were friendly, and that with that, Mommy Dearest had no way of knowing this, but the neighbors we were friendly with that had lived there before, they were very good friends with the homeowner. It was very easy for us to get his number from them, text him, bing, bang, boom. Suddenly, my husband is on the phone with a very embarrassed guy whose apologies are much more coherent than uh, his girl's friend. He was really very appreciative of the Google Drive link with the video of every single issue we've had. A few I left out just to save space, complete with timestamps. The other neighbors got his phone number as well. We learned some interesting info from him. The mom gave us a different name than the one he had. There were only supposed to be 2 people total living there. We see 5 or more living there regularly. Other fun things that I'll leave to your imaginations. Needless to say, they were in violation of their lease with just this, but one thing my husband and I have in common is that we are very thorough. So the next step was a police report. Did you know that in my state you can file a non-emergency report online for someone in your back porch late at night or people casing your car? It's really very easy. Our HOA isn't open until Monday. Sorry, Tuesday. But they had a nice little contact page we filled out. The other neighbors also filed reports and contacted the HOA. However, my bad Saturday night was I think their upcoming week might be worse. My husband informed the mother via text of all the steps we had taken and that our cameras are always on, in front and back. She's been silent and absent from the home since I did not accept her apology last night and laid out exactly how much trouble her kids have been when she's not around, which is always. Not sure what will happen next, a little concerned about my retaliation from the Dingleberries, but now we have a paper trail and immediate line of communication to the landlord, and they are aware that they've been recorded the entire time. Any escalation beyond this is their choice, edited to add. I don't think the eviction is in motion yet or anything, and I don't know anything other than that they are in direct violation of their lease in multiple ways. In my state, that's a wrap on your tenancy. There is a little edit at the top. Oh no, that's a TLDR. Okay. Update 5/25/26. The mom finally came home around 2:30 in the morning with a literal warehouse of younger kids. She put them in the house and then left herself in a different car that was there to pick her up. The uncle or whoever he was is at the house. With the new set of kids, we saw no sign of Craplings and company last night. My husband thinks the mom and older teenagers are avoiding their own house since we now have taken to sitting on our porches. Update number 2, 5/26/26. I now have a terrible insomnia for the past 2 nights since getting the crap scared out of me by the trespassing. I've confirmed with a couple of other neighbors that they contacted the HOA owner and filed a police report for a missing Apple Watch from one of their cars for the same night. They said that they would, but it was nice to get confirmation and vent to each other. If the kids chose to retaliate, they would have to target multiple people, all of whom have cameras. Since no sign of Craplings and company, normally a day off of school summons them like maggots to a carcass. Our front camera is not in an obvious spot, so my husband thinks it might have freaked them out to learn that they've been recorded the whole time. I'm so angry I want to go piss next to her driver's side door. That would technically be right next to my car again, so that would be counterintuitive. Update 6/1/2026. Still no signs of Craplings and company. They haven't shown themselves since the night they broke our fence down. Our cars and property have been left alone entirely, but the neighbors on the other side of the uh, neighbor from Howell asked for some camera footage since they woke up to some gas missing out of their car during the week. Then they asked for footage again on Thursday since some other kids staying at the house were climbing all the way on the roof and hood of her car, and the camera they ordered hadn't gotten there yet. She was heated and came out yelling at them because her roof is now dented. The adults came rushing out to usher the kids inside for only a minute, and then the whole crowd bundled up into their cars and left. I think they know they're on thin ice. I wasn't part of this confrontation. I heard about it slash saw it on my cameras later when she asked for the footage. I don't know what her next steps will be. I would want my roof repair paid for, but I also understand not wanting to deal with them in that way. The landlord had a meeting scheduled with the mother that he called a walkthrough and HOA citation review for noon Saturday, 5:30. She claimed a family emergency and asked to push it back to Sunday at noon, and then she asked to push it back until 5. The landlord was openly irritated by the third rescheduling. He offered this information, by the way, we did not ask. The landlord ended yesterday by reporting that he had told the mom what her options were going forward. What those options entail, he did not say. This has been eerily quiet since yesterday evening when he told us that I don't want to speculate since I genuinely have no information beyond this. All I know is I heard vacuuming and cleaning for a while on Sunday. Normal amount for landlord visit, in my opinion, and then absolute silence. I hope this is concluded, but based on my experience with teenagers and Craplings and company, they tend to forget lessons pretty quick. Hopefully, the landlord and whatever he said helped the neighbors understand the precarious position the teenage friends put them in. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Hedwig Flies again says, the top right comment, of course. Mom is going to be a Pikachu face when her darling girls get pregnant before they can vote. Probably, yeah. When you leave kids alone, they get bored and they do things. It's important to entertain your children or at least give them some birth control. Pumpkin, this is the one of those situations where documentation plus landlord pressure is exactly the right move, and you already did the smart part by building a clean paper trail. Why are you telling that to the Hedwig? Freezeline 13 says you're doing a great job of de-escalating. Most people behave badly in return. Congratulations on being decent. I wish I had a neighbor like you. Opie says good news is that rental might be available soon. You never know. Some farmer says sorry for your neighborhood troubles. This is the most entertaining thing I've read in a week. You have great writing style, and a small collective of devoted derelict boys had me snorting coffee through my nose. It was very well written and entertaining. Next, we have my coworker is Satan. Let me check something real quick. Oops, not that one. All right. It's not even on. When did this come in? Should not be texting me. Eric. He knows what I'm doing. He knows. Every afternoon. All right, next we have Found Satan is entitled My Coworker is Satan. Pretty sure I just made a Medicaid scammer cry. I told them I was in hospice care with just a week or so expected to live, and they just interrupted one of the last calls I'll ever have a chance to speak with my granddaughter on. I asked about the scammer's mother, whether she was healthy, what she would think about her daughter on her own deathbed. I heard a sob and then calling off. And an answer of, I don't know whether I should be shocked or impressed. I think it's great. I have no, these people get no sympathy for me. Scammers have no sympathy. Have you seen the guy who keeps the scammers on the phone like all day? Like all day, all night? He's funny as heck. He has a voice changer. So he acts like he's a little old woman. It's hysterical. They get so mad, it's so funny. And he hacks into their system so he can see what they're doing. It scares the crap out of him. I don't remember who he is. It's on my husband's YouTube, so I don't have access to that. Pause and Pop says, when Mark from Social Services Administration calls my about my outstanding warrant, I just got out of jail sobbing. I don't even want to go back as I have 5 kids, including a 6-month-old baby. One lady back in 2021 actually told me not to worry and said it was just a scam call. Sometimes I also need to wait for my son to come home to buy the gift cards. I'm blind and sitting in my wheelchair. Opie says that's truly amazing. Pop answers, once I came home to kids, Mama running out the door screaming that she's been arrested. She was on her way back, on her way to buy the gift cards. Firebird Rider says, I am blind and in a wheelchair, and they always go, well, you can go out anyway. Mephistopheles says, I think I pronounced that right, I'm not sure. I enjoy stringing them along and insisting that if they would just listen to another 5 minutes of the gospel, Kaluthu, our Savior, I'll help them with their phone data invocation query. Their top rated comment is from Ken's Bone is cool. Says, y'all still get actual people on your scam calls? I guess just get AI telling me I have unclaimed Medicaid funds. OP says mine's 5-6 calls a day regarding loan approvals. My block list needs an index. Jeez, just don't answer. So I did answer a call once. I was waiting for a legitimate call, and I did not know what number they would be calling from. So I answered, and they're like, "You have received a government, not a loan, um, like a gift from the government." I can never remember the word for that. Every time I tell the story, I forget the word for what I want to say. Um, and I said, "I did," and they got all excited and go, "Yeah," and I said, "No, I didn't, you liar," and they laughed and hung up. Next, we have just no Mel and isn't tired. Mel wants to go on her honeymoon with us. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Hell to the no. Absolutely not. Don't even entertain this. This is insanity. I agreed to go with my husband and his mother for a late uh, out for a late Mother's Day dinner. I'm usually no contact, and he is low contact with her for a variety of reasons. She's deeply emotionally enmeshed with him and truly acts like a bitter ex girlfriend around me, especially after getting kicked out of the house and forced to stay, actually be an adult and not mooch off her son. Anyway, husband and I got married recently, but we won't be going on the honeymoon for quite a few months. Please tell me how this woman had the audacity to ask to come with us on our honeymoon. Using one of his aunts as an example, aunt went on the honeymoon with her husband's family, but the whole family, not just the mother-in-law. Literally mid-dinner, an extremely expensive restaurant, acting like it was a totally normal thing to ask. Thankfully, husband shot it down immediately. I don't think this is the first time she's asked, as his response was along the lines of, I already told you that you cannot go on our honeymoon with us. I'm glad that he stands up for me and sees the toxicity of his relationship with her much more than he did before. But good Lord, what sort of mother asked to join her son on his honeymoon? It's so weird. It's so weird. I know she misses all the trips he used to take her on. He was absolutely her emotional husband until I came around. I could write a novel about how inappropriate their relationship was. But at some point, you have to move on and let your fully grown adult son have his own life, right? Right? No advice needed. DH has shiny spine, and I generally have zero contact with her. She basically hates my existence and refuses to acknowledge me. Won't even say my name right for 4 years. That's just blatant disrespect. If you respect someone, you learn their name. So for all you people out there, and I know, and you know who you are, that refuse to call people by their own names, you are a disrespectful piece of crap. That's all I have to say about you. I leave all the interaction to my husband. I hold iron boundaries anyway. It was just so jarring and genuinely blew me away. This is exactly why she wasn't invited to the wedding. Any other mother-in-laws want to sit in the wife's seat indefinitely? No, absolutely not. No. I'm not that enmeshed with my kids. I love my kids and I want to be included in their life, but I do not enmesh myself with them like that. No, they're grown-ups. I taught them to be grown-ups for a reason because they're supposed to be grown-ups. Oregon says my parents joined us on our honeymoon. Somebody says, "Are you still married?" And then somebody else says, "Tell me more." Okay, communication says, "Not my honeymoon, but last year after I went no contact with her a few months prior, she tried to get my wife to ditch me for Valentine's Day to go see a movie with her and her brother. My wife said no, and it turned into this huge thing with her brother and her mom ganging up on her and begging. They're also creepy, one big incestuous cluster wang. I did steal my mother for Mother's Day once. I didn't realize it was Mother's Day when I made the plans, but I bought her tickets to go to a figure skating show with me. It was the last time she got to go do something like that. So it was fun. We had a good time. Like I said, I love my mother-in-law. She was not enmeshed in her, she was a worrywart, but she was not enmeshed in her kids' lives like that. Possible Penguin says, "Ooh, I love my sons, but the idea of going on their honeymoon with them gives me the ick." Yes, exactly. It's so gross. Next, we have Petty Revenge, and it is entitled, "I made sure her toe was stubbed every time." I grew up sharing a room with my sister, and eventually basically stopped having a room at all. She was unbelievably messy. The only visible carpet was a narrow path between her bed, dresser, and the door. She'd borrow the car we shared without warning, steal my clothes, money, steal my money, not clothes, money, stay up late constantly, and make the room miserable to be in. Eventually, I only went in there for a change of clothes. Most nights, I ended up sleeping in the basement, waiting for my dad to finish his nightly TV routine so I could finally get some peace and quiet. I cried out in frustration more than once. So when my sister finally moved out, I was thrilled. The room became mine. It was the biggest bedroom in the house. I cleaned it top to bottom until there wasn't a trace of her left, even though she abandoned tons of junk. Fast forward 2 years, she moves back in. Everyone in the family quietly wondered if I'd give the bedroom back. Absolutely not. She got the smaller room down the hall instead, along with the cat she brought home, and now wakes everyone up at night while she's enjoying her nightlife. The petty revenge part, she comes into my room because I have the best mirrors in the house, so I've started accidentally leaving random things in the hallway outside my room. Nothing harmful, just enough to make her mutter under her breath when she bumps into them during their trip to my mirrors. Doesn't she watch where she's walking? OP says 3 siblings, me and my sister shared the big room, brother had a small room. That's what OP said. Oh, I guess somebody asked if there was a smaller room, why they didn't have it in the first place. So the brother had the small room to begin with, and then she moved out, and she got the big room, and then brother obviously moved out. Presentation that says I was going to make my kids share the big room, and then figured that the youngest doesn't sleep well. The middle of the night, random screaming like she was being murdered in her sleep until she was like 5. So the crib got moved to my husband in my room. Grown kids need sleep. Adults can live on coffee. My youngest grandson doesn't. WB does not sleep well either, but BW does not sleep. Sorry. The BW is the one that doesn't sleep well. WB does not seem to care. He does not seem to wake up, so that's fine. But BW has allergy issues, like really bad. Like seems to be allergic to everything all year round. He's always rubbing his nose, especially in his sleep. Poor kid. Expectation versus reality. The grooming did him dirty. First 3 photos are what my dog's hair usually looks like. Okay, so this is the puppy. Very cute. Big and very cute. Look at him. He looks like an old man. He's so cute. Oh, good puppy. Oh, puppy photos. I love pups. Just so cute. I know. You gotta get the hair out of their eyes, though. Just brush it back. It's really sad. Oh, that's really sad. I'm so sorry that happened to your pupper. I gotta take it back to the first photos. Uh, I took my sweet boo to the groomer since it had been a while since his last cut. I told the gals that they barely needed to shape the hair around his eyes and nose because I've gotten pretty good about doing it myself. They only needed to groom was his body, feet, nails, and his hair, ears. When I picked him up, his hair was still damp around his eyes, which wasn't a big deal, but overall he looked great. I was happy. About an hour later, I'm taking Boo out on a walk, and this is the face I see when he turns around. What the heck? I'm so upset I can't help myself from repeating, laughing, crying. It's a hard I'm crying cycle. He looks just like Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber, but still, how could they? It's so dirty like this. The last summer says, I'm sorry, but I'm dying laughing. OP says, I know, right? It's hard to be mad because I'm laughing so hard. Oh my gosh. Not the bang, banging. Leading free is the third top right comment. This is so funny. Is your dog embarrassed? I feel like a dog's get embarrassed when they have a bad haircut. He's adorable regardless. OP says, I thank you. I don't even think he knows he's chilling like he always does. Good. At least he's not embarrassed. Maybe he thinks he looks cute. Oh, poor pupper. All right. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Tell everyone you know. Tell your bad groomer, and then fire them. But tell them first before you fire them about the show. We want people to participate. All right. Next, we have a real estate, and it is not for sale. A greenhouse with a house growing inside. I've seen these before. Okay. It's going all by itself. Okay, there we go. I don't know why it's this. Oh, I'm covering up the, there's some pictures of solar panels inside. And those are inside? I guess that's right on the, interesting. Oh, it's all open inside. That's wild. I don't know. It's maybe too open for me. It might be too open for me. I've heard about this where they have these greenhouses around the house that supposedly it saves on energy costs when they're in a really um, colder climate, like in Scandinavia. That is a lot of glass, man. But what do you do in the summer? Does it open? Can you open it up in the summer? Because in the summer, I guess there's a window there. In the summer, I want the cool breeze coming in. It's a little too cool right now for me. This kitchen, nice. I don't know why I keep repeating. There is a wood stove for some heat, which you might not need much of, considering. You have to be inside all the time. It's gotta get stuffy, right? Bedroom. Those windows look like they open. There's another window that opened. That looks cool. I don't understand it, but it looks cool. Is that a window? Maybe that's a window. There's plants inside, so you won't have to worry about weeds and stuff. That'd be nice. I'd like that. I'd like that part of it. Bedroom. Really wide bed. See, that would be cool. Have your veggie garden right inside your house. Just go right out and pick your plant. And you could stagger them so that you always have something blooming. Oh, like lemon trees inside the house. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know they would produce that little. Okay, those stairs are something else. Holy cow, that is a steep staircase. Yeah, that's just scary. Why? Why do you have this? There's only one bedroom. Looks like only one bedroom. Like you could put some more bedrooms in there. I guess there's 2 more bedrooms. Hello, turkey. They had this weekend, there was a different turkey in the yard, and she had like 18 babies. 18 little fluff balls following her around. Like a little sitting area outside. Don't know what that's supposed to be. Oh, that's a cool idea. Oh, there goes another turkey. Turkeys are visiting. Well, that's very interesting. Very interesting. P.D. Von Pants says, "Stone throwers beware." Petro Cesario says, "He who lives in a glass house gets dressed in the basement." Accomplished bad is the second top rate comment. They say, "Can you imagine rainstorms? It'd be really cool." Kilovonic says, "I was thinking about how warm it must get in the summer living inside a greenhouse, but it appears to be a Scandinavian country, so I'm guessing that's not much of an issue." Boshaw answers, "I have seen a few of these. Some have larger greenhouses and smaller houses, so more of a yard inside the greenhouse. In the right climate, it would be incredible. In the wrong climate, it'd be miserable, for sure." Realistic Warthog says, "The first episode of the show Home on Apple TV has one of these called Nature House." That's what it says in the title. That's what it's called. "This is the most incredible home I've seen. What blows my mind is this one goes for the equivalent of $850,000. So we're back to the how much it is. All right. Next we have, "Am I the jerk?" and is entitled AITJ for telling my son he deserved his girlfriend breaking up with him. Maybe probably a little bit. Usually you shouldn't say that to your kids, even if it's deserved. "My son, 22 male, recently got dumped by his girlfriend of almost 3 years. He's been acting like the victim ever since. He moved back into my house temporarily after college so that I had a front row seat to the entire relationship over the past year. For context, his ex, 21 female, was genuinely lovely. She was polite, hardworking, and honestly bent over backwards for him. She'd drive an hour to see him, edit resumes, bring him food during the exams, remember birthdays in our family, etc. Meanwhile, son treated her like she was optional. I, I mean, it was gonna happen. You could see it. He constantly canceled plans with her to play video games with his friends, ignored her texts for hours, made jokes at her expense in front of people. More than once, I pulled him aside and told him he was going to lose her if he kept acting like she'd never leave. Final straw happened last month during my husband's birthday dinner. He spent the whole afternoon helping me cook. My son showed up late and barely acknowledged her and spent most of the dinner scrolling on his phone. At one point, she asked him if he could help carry dessert plates to the table, and he literally said, "Why? You're already up." The room went dead silent. She looked at him embarrassed, finished dinner quickly, and left early. 2 days later, she broke up with him. Good for her. She does not need this type of treatment. I would when I would probably say, "Well, I don't know what you thought you were what was going to happen treating her like that." Now he's devastated. He keeps saying he doesn't understand what happened. The divorce came out of nowhere. I didn't do anything, literally. Literally did not do anything. And that she gave up too easily. Oh, please. Last night he was ranting about how unfair it was and asking me if women expect perfection now. I finally snapped and told him no, she expected basic respect and honesty. Honestly, you deserve to get dumped. He got really upset and accused me of taking her side over my own son. Yep, I would. I have. Like, often, unbeknownst to me, not deservedly. But yeah, you gotta be honest with your kids sometimes. He needs to learn that he needs to treat his significant other like a person and not an option, not an accessory. My husband thinks I should have been gentler because he's already hurting. No. But I'm tired of watching him avoid accountability while acting blindsided. Now things are tense in the house and my son barely speaks to me. Yeah, he'll get over it eventually. Maybe he'll even agree with you at some point. Appengetta says, wow, good for you for holding him accountable and not coddling him. NTJ, hopefully your son learns his lesson and treats his future girlfriends better. Uh, Mary says, not unless dad gets his head out of his misogynistic butt and backs mom 100%. Previous charity says NTJ would actually consider showing him this post. He needs to understand that if he's going to act single, he's going to be single. In addition, he disrespected her in front of his family. His ex deserves better, and only a woman with low self-esteem would accept that treatment. Way too many women would accept that treatment, unfortunately. As a mom to humans, if either of my son or my daughter, boyfriend ever behaved like that, I too would have warned them like you did. He's getting the input that his behavior is even a little bit okay, needs to be addressed. You absolutely did the right thing in NTJ. I agree. Informal matter is the third top right comment. They say, nope, NTJ, he deserved what he got, and being called out like this may prevent this from happening with his next significant other. Flower Crew said somebody needed to say it because the I don't know what happened act would have driven me insane after watching him disrespect her for years. Exactly. Grow up. Next is Signs with a Story. They made a whole a whole sign, Coca-Cola sign saying the old cook is back. The new cook must not have been good at all. The new cook must have been terrible. A Hawk says too many complaints. Next Pedal Spike says probably old cook said, pay me what I'm worth. Company told him to wang off, so the cook did. Company burned their 8 other cooks and watched the business tank. Now old cook is back, hopefully with double their wage, hopefully. Lendog Govey answers, it happened to a buddy of mine. He took a couple of his own recipes with him. There were some of the staples of the place. He left and went to a bar down the road and was bartender and didn't go into the kitchen. After a year, he came back on his own wants and desires. Years later, he and his wife were in the place and have a chance of ownership. Wasting My Life Today said, I'd watch that movie as long as it's not Hallmark style. Yes. Nick's Pedal Spike is the second top rate comment, and they say, I hope that cook got double their wages on take that gig back. Hefty Bagman says, if your old job comes to you and offers you your job back with more pay, you don't need that job back. You need investors. AJ Won't Load says, at first I thought it was supposed to say the old Coke is back, and I kept wondering how they were legally adding cocaine back into Coke. True that. Server life. It just says bra. They gave him no tip. It said tip. Next time break into smaller bills, you will get a bigger tip. You gave them no tip. So that was $77.95. I gave them a $20 for change out of my own purse because I didn't want to bother the bartenders because it was rather busy. Edit. I now know I should have broken the 20s regardless. I usually do, but I didn't think about it this time. The table left $100. Didn't ask for a specific change or nothing. When I picked it up, I said, we're going back. Their change paused. And they still said nothing. People are so mad at Bet about this. Yeah, I guess I'm a crap server because of single table error. I mean, you didn't give them the change so they could give you a tip. Yeah. You wanted an over 20% tip because $15 would have been the proper amount. Approximately. I brought it and they asked me to break the 20, so I quickly brought them 3 5s and 5 1s from a coworker who had those bills. I bring it to them and they thank me and eventually leave, and they leave this written on the table with a $1 bill. They had to wait for you to do that. Be better. Edit, I didn't expect it to blow up like this. To clarify, the table wasn't waiting on me. Sure they weren't. So it wasn't like I was keeping them there while I rummaged for smaller bills. They stayed a bit after. I do agree that I should have broken down further initially, as I usually carry more change on me. I guess I just assumed they had more on the $100 in their wallet, I guess. Overlooked on my end. Why would you assume anything? I did too. I just realized some people think I came off as annoyed or something similar to the request of getting smaller bills. I was more than happy to get them changed. It's not like it's a strange request. I was expecting the $20. I can see how it could be interpreted that way, but it was an honest error. Also, for this one instance, does not make me a bad server, since a lot of people are insulting my intelligence by not initially giving the smaller bills first. I'm good at what I do. Mistakes happen. This is not a mistake. You did this on purpose. A mistake would be not grabbing the right amount of change or something like that. An accident. PMAX says, I didn't want to bother the bartenders for change when I don't need to. And he says, but you did need to. Yes, exactly. Marshmallow Haze is the second type where he comments. Says, unfortunately, this is why I break down bills. I don't want to screw myself over. Doing and cast. Doing cast. Doinkest. Doinkest. Maybe it's doinkest. It's proactive service versus reactive service, and this is a perfect example of reactive service. The guest is a dick for not tipping, but they are right. As servers, we should be giving broken down change and not large bills. This is why I pay a credit card. My cat lady says, well, their excuse for not tipping seems like it might be BS. Why wouldn't you give them a broken down change? It comes across like you were expecting them to give $20. Yep, exactly. Delicate Delilah says, because OP was absolutely expecting the $20. Elder Master says, could be, but I'm going with the guess on this one. You should always bring them denomination so they can tip 20%. If they're not going to tip, they're not, but don't give them a reason. Exactly. Don't give somebody a reason to be a dick. Okay, so this is interesting. So this was removed by the Reddit filters, probably because, and I'll show you real quick. They've posted the same thing. This one is dated 5/30 of this year. And this was 8/20 of last year. So not even a year ago. They did the same thing. And I probably read this last year. But we're going to read it anyway. I was not a night auditor for years and I never did my job. I loved working at hotels in my youth because I had absolute authority when I was alone and used to study my graduate degree while I worked 40 hours a week and study full time. My job was almost done by the time I got there. I'd speak to maybe 3 people all night, and because I get along with people, they'd constantly shout me out. When anyone called, they were magically sold out. We were magically sold out. My predecessor accidentally gave away thousands of dollars of snacks and drinks in a scam, so I padded my pathetic food budget with free monsters, chips, and anything that could get me a free meal. And us hotel workers are treated well, free food, good perks. I did this from 25 to 30. I really recommend it if you want a job that has pretty much no oversight. I sure do know how to run an auditing update, though. Jarjot says, I was a night auditor for about 2 years. I played League of Legends all night and got free breakfast every morning. It was glorious. Sweet Velvet says, the real night auditor experience seems to be either quietly studying for a degree or accidentally getting paid to play video games while waiting for the occasional guest to need a towel. I could probably do that job. Leslie says night audit is certainly interesting. 99% of the time, there's nothing going on, but that 1% where something going on can be really wanged up. Like I dealt with a hostage situation once. That'll kill your study time immediately. Useful Crab says, yeah, but it was once, so. Veloplex says, I did evenings and occasional nights at a hotel before finding a full-time graveyard gig, front desk at a gym. Worked my way through the end of undergrad and the first bit of grad school that way, essentially getting paid to do assignments and readings at night while going to school during the day. By the end, my sleep schedule was so messed up that I would still cover midweek overnights, even if I got a day job in my field. Never got so much work done in my life in those few years. I was a productivity machine. The only downside is my brain is still wired to get crap done at like 2 a.m. 3 years later, but it was 10/10 worth it. My son has a job like this. It's not an night auditor job, but he says he works about 2 minutes per shift. And the rest of the time he scrolls on his phone or does whatever. He's not in school, so he doesn't have to do schooling. He could probably. And I had a job kind of similar to that too. People were like doing school stuff during work, and I would cover for my partner when she had tests and stuff that she had to do during our work period. Like I didn't care. It wasn't that bad of a job. You just couldn't handle it on your own 100% of the time. 90% of the time you could have. 90% of the time I did because I kept losing people. Not my fault. Not my fault you can't keep up. Not my fault your house burnt down. Not my fault. Your your in-laws won't give you won't do daycare for you. Not my fault. Your car broke. Yeah, these were all the reasons I lost partners over 2 years. Not my fault, you can't handle it without me. That literally one of them quit because he couldn't handle it without me. Next, we have Interesting AF, and it says 4 shades of blue in Antarctica. That is really cool. By David Verdani. That is really neat. Probably won't ever do the Antarctic trip. It's too expensive. I would love to, but I don't think I'll ever have the money for that. Next, we have Am I the A-hole? AITA for not telling my parents I was hospitalized for a week to prove a point. Probably not. Okay. There's a lot of additions here. I live in another city while my parents, both in their 50s, still live in my hometown. We actually have a good relationship overall. I usually fly home for Christmas and we often talk. There's no major family drama, but there is one thing about them that has driven me and everyone else in my family insane for years. They are completely careless with their phones. They'll leave their phones in another room all day, leaving them on silent by accident, or forget to charge them so the battery dies for the entire day. Sometimes I'll call 5 or 6 times and finally someone answers hours later. I've talked to them about it many times because they don't have a landline, so their cell phones are literally the only reliable way to reach them. These are the type of people that need a landline. Yes, I understand they come from older generation and aren't tech savvy. I'm sorry, your parents are in your 50s. I'm 61. I have a freaking YouTube channel. Anybody younger than me should be fine with cell phones. That's silly. They didn't grow up attached to phones the way the younger people did, but they're not that old, and I still feel like if your cell phone is your only form of communication, you should at least keep it charged and within hearing distance. I've heard things I've told them things like, if there's what if there's an emergency? What if someone urgently needs to contact you? They always brush it off and act like I'm overreacting. Last month, I got severe food poisoning, ended up hospitalized for a week. It wasn't life-threatening, but I was pretty miserable. While I was in the hospital, I tried to call both of them multiple times over 2 days. No answer. One phone was dead, the other apparently was left somewhere in the house. At that point, I got frustrated and honestly gave up trying. I don't blame you. Now, to be fair, could have contacted my aunt who lives near them, and she absolutely would have told them. But after years of the same issue, I decided not to. Part of me thought maybe this is the only way they'll finally understand why people keep their phones accessible. Also, you didn't feel like it. You were too tired to do that. Yesterday, I was talking to my mom on the phone and casually mentioned, "Oh yeah, last month I was hospitalized for food poisoning for about a week." She completely freaked out and got really angry that I never told them. I explained that I did try to contact them repeatedly, but they didn't answer. She said I should have called my aunt because this was an emergency. No, ma'am. You should have had your phone on you because this was an emergency. What if the aunt dies? What happens when the aunt dies and there's nobody else to tell her? I immediately said I could have done that, but I intentionally didn't because I wanted them to finally realize how irresponsible they are with their phones. That made her even angrier, and she said I used my hospitalization to prove a point and scared them unnecessarily. Ma'am, you were not scared. You didn't even know what happened. My dad thinks we're both being stubborn. I honestly didn't think it was that huge of a deal since I recovered fine and it wasn't life threatening. But now I'm wondering if I took the lesson too far. AITA. No. Added to add, I just woke up and started reading through the comments. Sorry if I couldn't reply to each one individually. I noticed a lot of the same questions coming, so I'll answer some of them. Why didn't you just leave a text or a voicemail? My parents basically do not text. They're terrible at it. Messages still can't sit unread for weeks. If the phone's off, why send a text? Why bother? If they want to communicate, they will call. Same with voice notes. we use WhatsApps. They rarely check them unless somebody specifically tells them to. Why don't they install a landline? Because they don't want to. Simple as that. Our old landline was disconnected years ago and they never bothered getting another one installed. They're not even that old. Why can't they just learn to use a phone? Exactly. I think some people are misunderstanding what I mean by they're not tech savvy. No, you literally said because of their age. For context, I live in Asia. When my parents were younger, internet access and mobile phones were luxuries where we lived. They were everywhere, dear. They were everywhere. In my hometown back then, only relatively wealthy people had mobile phones. Yeah, same here. My parents only got their first phone after my oldest brother moved away for college, so they could stay in contact with him. And honestly, even back then, they were hard to reach. So when I say they were not tech savvy, I don't mean old people can't understand technology. I mean they genuinely do not care enough to learn beyond the basics. So they're Luddites. I hate people like that. Drives me nuts. My dad once accidentally called our family WhatsApp group while he and my mom were gossiping about something for church. Thankfully, it was only our family group and not the church group itself. So yeah, that should paint a picture. Why do you expect them to be glued to their phones 24/7? She doesn't. She just expects them to have it sitting there next to them, turned on. Like right now, my phone is in the other room, but I have an app on my computer that I can that I use like to text my husband back when he texted me about his stinking plant outside. He's trying to propagate plants. Why do you expect them to be glued to their phone 24/7? I don't. When I say it takes multiple attempts to reach them, I don't mean I'm calling every 2 hours every day expecting them immediate responses. I mean, whenever I do call, it often takes several tries before they answer, or they only notice hours later and call back then. They don't check notifications, they don't browse the internet, they don't watch YouTube or play games. They basically use their phones like old fashioned cordless landlines whose only purpose is making calls. I've actually shown them how to use other features before, but they simply don't care enough to bother with any of it because to them, phones are just for calling. I'm not asking them to be social media addicts. I'm asking them to be at least keep their phones charged and maybe check on them once or twice a day. Is it really big of a problem? Yes, it is. It would be. I know my when my son was younger, he did not do his phone a lot. Now he has to because he gets business calls. But it was terrible getting a hold of him sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Is it really that big of a problem? Yes. My brothers and I are not the only people who've complained about this. My parents have missed multiple important family updates because they don't answer calls or check messages. My cousin gave birth, they found out a week later. My mom's brother had surgery to remove a kidney stone, she found out days afterward. And every single time they get upset and complain that nobody tried hard enough to reach them. That's what makes this exhausting. A lot of commenters are saying they miss the old days before everyone was glued to their phones, and honestly, I get that. But we live in 2026 now. Important updates, emergencies, and family news are mostly communicated through calls and messages now, whether we like that or not. Again, I'm not demanding that my phone stay attached to their phones 24/7. I'm asking for the bare minimum level of accessibility. Also, for those asking, my emergency contacts are my brothers and my parents. After this whole situation, I've honestly been considering asking my aunt if I can add her too. I would, if your aunt's actually reliable, because these people are not reliable. That's the problem. They're not reliable. Her brothers are probably fine. Lastly, someone claiming to be a medical worker said my story must be fake because nobody stays in the hospitalized for food poisoning for a week for food poisoning. First of all, people can actually absolutely end up hospitalized longer depending on dehydration, complications, pre-existing conditions, or other health issues. Second, even if there were other medical factors involved, that's not the point of the post. And I don't owe random strangers my medical history. No, you don't. You're correct. Pretty wild for a supposed medical worker to immediately dismiss someone's health situation without knowing anything about them. Frankie Dragon says late 50s is not all that old FFS. They're just irresponsible. Exactly. NTA in the slightest. It is an irresponsibility to try to hunt them down when there's a perfectly reasonable way to reach them that they don't care enough to keep track of. Uh, your Yorig says, "Yep, my mom is reaching her 70s and she knows how to make Venmo payments and enter social media. It took her time to learn, but she did." I don't do Venmo because I don't can't mess with hooking it up to a credit to my bank account. Lady Smog says, you gave up after 2 days, but you were in the hospital for a week. At some point they saw all your missed calls and decided not to check up on you. NTA, but I think the phone thing is just a symptom of a bigger problem." Beck Dog says, "Yeah, this was my first thought. This has almost nothing to do with cell phones, entirely to do with care. People have been able to check in on each other for decades before the internet or cell phones were ever a thing. They just don't care to stay in touch with her." 100%. I don't work here, lady. And it's entitled Blue Pants Equals Instant Nurse, apparently. I was at the hospital visiting a friend. I had already swapped from my work top for exercise tee because I was heading straight to play pickleball after. I did not even make it to the exit, and this auntie clocked me from across the corridor and beelined. Started describing her symptoms in full detail before I could react. I just stood there like, waited for her to breathe, and told her I genuinely don't work here. I'm just a visitor. She looked me up and down, stares at the pants. She says, "The pants? Oh, but the pants, though. The pants, though. Auntie, I'm going to the pickleball courts, not the ICU. The blue pants are not a uniform. They're just exercise pants that are blue." Directed her to the actual nurse's station and got out there. I hope she found out. She probably didn't because she sounds dumb. I was accosted in Walmart a couple weeks ago because I had a lanyard on and a jacket. It was cold. She says, "Oh, like this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't mean I work here. I don't work here, lady." She was nice about it, though. Aussie Alter Ego says, "I was a nurse and I was called away from work when my son was taken to the hospital with a concussion. Being my agency uniform was wonderful as far as the staff were concerned because I actually got a full medical report on his condition and not the layman's version of this is normal, everything's going to be all right. He was all right, just bruised and shaken." On the other hand, families of the other patients in the emergency department kept asking me for medical interventions. I'm a nurse, but not your nurse. The pants, though. Books and Cats, Wines and Snacks says, "I had the opposite experience once, working in a hospital, wearing full scrubs and a badge, pushing a stretcher that was 3 times my size, and a woman comes up to me and says, 'Do you work here?' Yes, I understand it was politeness, but she meant no harm, but I just couldn't help finding it hilarious. I wanted to say, 'I hope so, ma'am, otherwise where the hell am I going with this patient?'" Well, I mean, you could be like an ambulance driver or something. It's a legitimate question. Kokor Khan says, "No, I'm here to pick up my dinner," and looks at the patient on the stretcher. Are you a vampire, sir? Neil Sliss says, "I'm a CNA and I used to work from 3 to 11. I love to hit Walmart up at 11 because it was so quiet and nice to walk around before going back home." My Walmart's not even open till 11. Pretty sure it's not even open till 11. Well, one night somebody approached me about an item and I had to tell them, "No, I don't work here. I'm wearing maroon scrubs. Do you see a blue vest?" Right? But do not go to Target and wear a red shirt. Just saying. Overheard. This is entitled The N Word, so I don't know where this one's going. "I woke up this morning to the sound of my girlfriend talking to her friend on the phone. I stayed awake and listened not to eavesdrop, but just to make sure everything was okay. And I heard all I heard was my girlfriend saying, 'We're not doing an STD test at home, bitch. You're getting examined by qualified medical professionals who can explain to you what is going on based on the results of your examination. I don't want to find out that your VG needs medical attention from a box you ordered on Amazon that tells you red means herpes. I'll go and get tested with you. I'm due for another checkup anyway. I'll make an appointment for both of us. It goes without saying, but please promise you'll sleep with no one until you know you're clean. I mean it, Giselle.' Like literally no one. Deactivate all of your horny dating apps. Stop responding to thirsty DMs in your socials. Avoid going to the gym during peak hot people hours. Do not call or message any of your exes, even though most of them actually deserve an STD. You're a waning nun until your results come back. A nun, Giselle. Say it back to me. Say it, bitch. Say the N word. Revolutionary Tale says nuns do it out of habit. Adresse says, I'm so mad at you right now, a pun. So well executed. Take this upvote. Blush nice, be twice. Blush twice, be nice says, you mean you're cross with them? And she says, answers, damn it, I was punned again. Dark Pangolin says, I bet your face is rosary. So mad they have sweat beading on their face. And then somebody says something inappropriate and says, I'm not good with puns. Different kind of beads. Apparently there are tornado warnings in my hometown. I just got an alert from a friend. Easy Lizen says, this is the same Giselle that's sleeping with her boss after girlfriend got her a job. OP says, same Giselle. She's the main character of my relationship right now. Silver Source says, give us all the Giselle stories. I was a Jill once. Turns out you can turn a hoe into a housewife. Aw, that's nice. This is true off my chest and is entitled, I'm going to have to end my life if I want my family to survive, and I don't think I'm ready to accept it. This sounds really heavy and is not safe for work, so be warned. This could be bad. I, 23 male, have been supporting my entire family. My dad, sisters, one brother. None of them work. Both my sisters are over 18. My dad, 52. They all live at my place ever since I've been 18. I've always been the breadwinner for the family, supporting everything. I took a car loan so they could use it, and I took a mortgage so they could have a roof over the head. 4 months ago, I lost my job because of several factors, and ever since I've been unable to find another job. I've used up all my savings. We're currently in the 26th of May, and my bank account has hit zero. So I am over 400,000 in mortgage and loan debt. And you're 23? I didn't even want that because my family gaslit me into being the provider that I've been doing. I do have life insurance that covers suicide and will pay off everything. I mortgage my loans an additional 50K. But I've been more and more delaying my actual suicide because I want to live. But I have no other choices if I want my family to survive. Screw your family. They don't deserve to live. I have considered running away and abandoning them all, but I'd just leave them in a desperate situation. Rather than if I just ended it all, at least they'd have something. I just don't know how to proceed. Dude, not just Star says your family wants you more than your money. I don't know about that. It seems like they like his money an awful lot. Parent Dependent says you can declare bankruptcy and get the house sold, which will force your parents and sisters to find a place of their own and get jobs. You will too, but you will all be in the same boat. You can then be amicably tell them to be more independent. I have to ask why you accepted the situation. It sounds crazy. Can anyone else in your family work? Yes, they all can. Favorite waste of time says you shouldn't let anyone take advantage of you like that anymore. Please stay safe and look out for yourself. Bless you. They're hiding their posts. I wonder if this will work on this. Let's find out. It writes about a lot about video games. Weird. I think he's okay. He's still posting. Anyway. Next is what do I do? And is entitled, what do you think if you saw this message from your boyfriend's mom to him? She really wants to step she really needs to step up. She is 18 and wants to be independent, but is being very dependent on you to buy things and us to put a roof over her head. Like 3 months is wild without a job is wild. Depends on the economy, to be honest. Sorry for how long this is. Oh boy, another long one. Backstory. I, 18 female, and my boyfriend, 19 male, got together when I was 16 and he was 17. Soon after I turned 17, my mom kicked me out, and my boyfriend's mom invited me to live with them instead. I was couch hopping and living in my car. Fast forward, I recently got laid off from my job mid February due to reasons I couldn't control, heart appointments. It's now May, just hit 3 months, and I'm still struggling to find a job. I'm currently waiting to hear back from 6 jobs I've applied to, 30 plus. My boyfriend's mom has been bashing me for the past 3 weeks to go get a job by going through my boyfriend instead of talking to me. I understand where she's coming from because, well, I do need one, but why not talk to me? We're both adults. Insight: she refuses to pay me for her living. Refuses for me to pay for her living. I pay her. She refuses for me to pay her for living here. That is the worst sentence. She refuses to charge me rent. I also pay for all my bills, necessities, gas, and so forth. With the child support I get from my dad, me and her don't ever talk, and we have true conversation because it turns awkward and I can tell she judges me. As well, she never tries to start a conversation. She doesn't sound that great. I may have intruded in my boyfriend's and his mom's privacy by looking through messages. It's okay, so don't do that. Which he lets me look through his phone when I want, and I only look at one with my name. But anyways, I found this message a couple of days ago, alongside others that hit me like a brick that's been weighing on my chest ever since. Side note: my boyfriend is mama's boy. She's a little too attached to him, as well, since he's the only boy. My boyfriend doesn't pay for anything for me unless he truly insists on it, and they are the ones that offered the roof over my head. Now it feels like it's being hung over my head. I volunteered to leave numerous times before since I feel like a burden, to which I still do. Previously, back when I was financially stable along with my boyfriend, we talked about finding our own place together. Whenever he brought that to his mom's attention, she got livid at even the idea. She told us we weren't leaving the house until about 3 years from now. Currently, I don't know how or what to think of it, as I had absolutely nothing to do with this family. I haven't even had simple attitude with neither of his parents the year plus I have lived here. I guess I'm just looking from an outside viewpoint. Now you heard almost everything. How would you feel about the situation? Edit. I have a good job lined up now, and I'm just waiting for me to be able to go in and talk to the supervisor. Help that I knew people there. I'll be making enough to move myself out. Good, because you should be doing that. Edit 2. I'm not in a relationship for this place to live. This is a personal beef between his mom and I. We usually get along fine, except since I take care of their 11 animals. 11? 11 animals? What the heck? I help with everything, which is what I should do since, again, I live here. Update: I got a job. Uh, Chairman host says, I would feel like I needed to move out. Leaving now can preserve positive relationship if that's what you want. Chick Fix says, it's a bit of a leap, seeing how the post doesn't mention animosity or danger or anything. It says they're worried about her not having a job. I'm just going to say that they're right and she should get a job 100%, absolutely indisputable, that she needs a job. Just out of curiosity, what here would make you feel like you needed to move out if you weren't contributing and people who were contributing said you needed to contribute? Just trying to understand your thought process. Um, Sometimes it takes a long time to get a new job after you've been laid off. The affiliate order says, here's a hot take, LP. You're still quite young and an infant to adult living. It seems to me, though, that you have all the bones to be truly independent and thriving. I will say that the mother is right, but not about the job. If you truly want to start off independent, take it from someone who had and has similar situation with my family and close ones and prepare for what they call independent living. You probably realize this, and I can see it from your self reflections in the comments. But you unknowingly got adopted by a maligned family unit via your boyfriend. Not good. Your next move is to prepare intentionally and carefully to save up some cash and find a nice place you want to live, even a room, and move out. Don't ask for permission. Don't worry about the fallout from boyfriend's mom. Your boyfriend can still be your boyfriend. He can come over, but you need to have that ownership. The more you live like this, the more you'll find yourself conditioned to put your own needs aside to please these people and then others. All will happen is the boyfriend will come over to visit and never leave. Seen that happen. I know somebody that done that. They're married now. It's fine. The best way to adjust is tough it out on your own and learn the hard truth that you don't have those support systems most others have. You'll find people who try and keep you around. It's almost useful to them. The mother sees you as a charity case, hate to say it. She may love you and care about you, but you're not her kid. You're someone she has seen as down on her luck, and I've seen this play out time and time again, and a big part of this is for her is probably the satisfaction of helping someone. Don't believe me? Make an independent decision like she's implying by moving out and see how she feels about you. Maybe she'll be fine with that. You don't know. Your boyfriend is the same if he loves you and doesn't see you as some weird adopted member of his family. Should be understandable that you'd want your own space, even just a room in someone else's house, for the sake of maintaining mental and financial boundaries. This kind of entanglement will leave you just stuck with years of mixed feelings and, in the end, an explosive divorcing of all parties if allowed to this current trajectory. Oh, baby dear. So cute. So little tiny and cute. Okay. I think we've read enough on that one. Next, we have Oh No Consequences, entitled Stupid Kids. And it is a video. And I have a bad feeling about this. For something. Ah! This is why we don't do that when we don't know what we're doing.
Dude, you just busted your freaking intercooler radiator.
Can the thing even drive without its radiator?
I don't know.
Sick.
Oh, F, bro.
Yeah. As is that. Legitimate Win says vintage BMW convertible. Wait till the father who owns it finds out. Buck says, with those wheels and all the missing trims, screams first car to me. Yeah, it does to me too. That is not a vintage car. That is, it could be a vintage car if it was restored, but it's not. Dipka says, yep, he done weighing that car up. Texas USA says, it looks like he tore the oil pan out. Simple Negotiation says, I was about to say that. I also think it was the oil pan. If the coolant looked like that, that car had bigger issues. Definitely busted the oil pan. Next, we have Mildly Infuriating, and is entitled, So I accidentally brought my floss instead of my AirPods to a 3-day work conference. I'm a 3-hour ride away from home. Go to your local Target and buy some earbuds. They have them from $20 that are perfectly serviceable, and you can get noise canceling ones for like $60 or less. And it has Oral-B floss. Somebody says I put that sticker on my AirPods ages back because I thought it was funny to mess with myself. Might stop someone from stealing them too. This is clever. This is AirPod case, but it's got done a floss sticker on it. That's awesome. I love it. Someone else has a Vaseline one. A Listerine one. Another Oral-B one. This is comment says, may I suggest? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, seriously, you can get some decent, not great headphones from Target really quick, really cheap. I have them. They're noise canceling. They work decently. They're not like the best. But in a pinch, they're cheap and they work. Next, my best of brother updates and is entitled, for months I was confused why I kept finding long hairs in my house, and then I saw my neighbor coming out of my house. It was originally posted to Creepy Encounters. I'm a man in my 20s. This was from May 6, 2026. I'm a man in my 20s that lives alone at the very top floor of an apartment block. I've had short hair for the last 10 years of my life. The longest hair on my head is maybe an inch long, if that. However, across my house, I kept finding long hairs on the floor, like long brunette hairs, at least 5 or 6 inches, sometimes longer. And they would be everywhere, bathroom floor, in the shower, in my cupboard, in my kitchen, and old clothes, living room floor, and sofas, etc. I've been single since November and clean often enough that I'm certain it's not my ex-girlfriend's hairs. Plus, the color doesn't match anyway. She had solid black hair, and these are more like a light brunette. Plus, finding them in the places like the shower, where running water is hitting all sides 5 times a week. Anyway, I waved all this off. Well, I work with a lot of people and use the gym and bus sometimes, so naturally hairs are going to get on my clothes. Not like that, dude. One day this past April, I finished my early AM gym session and got the call that I didn't have to go to work that day. So naturally, I started to walk home, all happy that I have the day to myself. I'm on the 5th floor, the uppermost floor of the building, and the apartment is such that there's only one apartment per floor. So I start to hustle up the stairs, and I don't use the elevator since I'm sweating from the gym. Anyway, just as I whip a right to go up the last set of stairs from the 4th floor to the 5th floor, I see my neighbor's on the 3rd floor daughter coming down the stairs. We lock eye contact. We've never spoken before, mostly because we've never had a reason to. But out of respect, I didn't want her to make her uncomfortable since she's 19, 21-ish, and I'm slightly older. The most interaction we've had is that I've spoken to her mother and father before when bumping into each other on the stairs. I give a confused hello. At this point, I'm thinking that maybe she went to knock on my door to ask for something. A cup of sugar, maybe? I don't know. I was expecting her to reply with something like, oh, hi, do you have any XYZ? Nope. She gave me a silent hey and brushed right past me. And only then, when the smell of my own shampoo hit me, did I notice her hair was wet, like fresh out of the shower a minute ago wet. Now, I'm not saying she showered in my house or that I have a stalker, except she showered in your house, sir. Or I have a stalker that's been leaving my house while I've been at work. She very easily could have just been there to ask for something, and most generic shampoos smell the same. But I don't put the pieces together. But don't the pieces together fit all a bit too well? Her hair color matches the hairs I would find around my apartment. And like I said before, they were everywhere, in my bed, in my sock drawers. And if this is a case of me having a stalker, how did she know I came home early enough to bolt out of the shower in time? Our apartment doesn't have cameras. It's an older building from before 2000. And why would she be stalking me? For how long has she been doing this? We've never dated, never had a proper conversation. I maybe saw her 20 times in the past 2 years that I've worked, and she presumably studies or works too. I don't know that she's necessarily a stalker, but she is using her apartment. All these thoughts are buzzing in my head. I'm standing outside my door for a total of 2 minutes grappling with what just happened. I go to turn the key to my door, and it opens without me having to unlock it. And I know for a fact I always double lock my door. It's the type of the lock near the waist level, and a second more secure lock with a different key around the shoulder level. I drop off my bag, throw my shoes, and run to the shower. And yep, it's still wet. I hadn't showered since yesterday morning. I'm a confrontational person, and not going. I'm a confrontational person. Not that I'm going to looking for fights, but I'll definitely pursue an answer if something is bugging me. So back down the stairs to the third floor I went, knocked on the door for my apartment stalker and her family, my parent stalker and her family. She's not a stalker, or at least not yet. She opens the door with the chainsaw. I see half her face from behind the door. Yes, can I help? Were you at my door? Or were you at my door or inside? I don't want to make this a police thing, but now you can come down. But you came down the stairs. I know you were inside. I just had to get something. It won't happen again. Okay, bye. See you. Close the door. This happened last month, and I've been cleaning my house every weekend closely now and got the locks changed and put a motion sensor camera above my door. It only films and triggers on the steps coming up to my door, so the fourth floor apartment still has the privacy. So far, so good. I don't think she's been hiding inside since, but looking back, I think she'd been living in or going in whatever in my apartment since January because that's my earliest memory of finding hairs. She never took anything of value like my laptop or a few watches I have. Seemingly, she just showered and ate some of my food and laid in my bed. So I do now also take the elevator and avoid the third floor of the flag. I don't think you have to do that. You're not the one that did anything wrong. Edit, I'm not really worried about my safety because one, I'm 200 pounds and do a lot of fighting and training. And two, the new camera has never gone off since installed other than me triggering it when I'm home. Finally, three, I told the old retired husband on the fourth floor that I suspect a robber was going to break into my apartment last month. I didn't want to start spreading rumors and gossip and asked them to keep an ear out for when I'm at work. I feel fine and safe, just creeped out. Like my personal space had been violated because your personal space was violated, sir. Edit 2. Somebody DM'd me to check my coats and bags for air tags as to how maybe she knew I was coming home early that day. I don't have a lot of stuff, so I think that could have been 100% found out by now, given how often I clean, but I definitely do another sweep of my stuff. Update. May 12th, 2026. Hi all. Following my last post, I went back to catching a week back about me catching my neighbor coming out of my apartment and having used my shower. My cousin's husband is a police officer, so I told him directly about filing a report. He came over to my apartment first, as I gave him a visual background of what happened on the stairs and changes, odd things I'd noticed in my apartment since January, primarily just hairs everywhere and missing food. And now my door was unlocked that day. Though I did do a thorough clean following the event on the stairs, my police friend was able to still find some hairs, and he bagged those up. I gave him my statement in detail and some dates, best I could. When I remember finding the first hair when I first noticed food going missing, etc. Also, he advised me not to talk to the family, not even with a friend, to avoid confusion or get lawyers involved or muddy the water with accusations. With all that done, he left and came back 2 or 3 days later. He and his partner went to talk to the family on Sunday because they both knew the parents would likely be home then. Long story short, she confessed to everything immediately and broke down in tears and apologized once my police friend brought up 5 months of entering someone's house, even with keys, is still very much an offense, and she could easily be brought up with a sentence of somebody should pursue it. And that sentence could easily involve some inside of the jail cell irregardless. All of a sudden his English has just deteriorated massively. Irregardless of if she stole something or not. I don't know how true this is. It might have been just my friend and his partner pressing and exaggerating for a confession, but it worked. I mean, yeah, police do that. They lie. They lie to get confessions all the time. They're just liars. They talked for an hour with the parents and all her in the same room to get answers from her. And the same day, he came up to mine and his partner and gave me the breakdown. Answers to the common questions below. How did she get in and have her own key? Locks on our doors are the type that use a code on the lock barrel that only the manufacturer partnered approval locksmiths have access to. She knew this because her parents got the locks changed when they first moved in. And in fact, she used the same locksmith from all the way back then. The locksmith presumably remembered the family and apartment, but just didn't pay attention to it, being the 5th floor this time instead of her own 3rd floor. So he came over and took the barrel out and saw the code and went and made a set of keys and done. Wow. I was none the wiser, but both my locks on my doors are different brands, but presumably they operate in the same way with having 2 locks made no difference. What was she doing in my apartment? Anyone who said she just needed space, you were right. She has 2 younger step siblings, and her mother is a tutor, not a teacher, as I presumed previously. She tutors at home. So at any given point, there's always some kids around the house. She would say to her parents she was going to study or work at her girlfriend's house and use my house as a hotel while she studied or relaxed. The reason she used mine was partly because she knew it would be empty, but also because my schedule was predictable, as I work an average of 9 to 5 like everyone, but leave the house at 6 to 6:30 to get to the gym done. 2, that essentially gave her the house from 6 to 5. How long? My guess was right. It started in January when she figured out I'd broken up with my girlfriend at the same time around November. My girlfriend would stay at mine when I went to work and back sometimes. So yeah, that would have been an interesting situation if they'd crossed paths. So then how did she know I was coming home early that day and that I wasn't going to work straight after the gym like usual, so she bolted out of the shower? Or on the days I didn't go to the gym, how did she know not to come in? Twofold. First, I go to a commercial gym in my country, so they have an app, regardless of whether you're a member or not. One of the things the app lets you see is how many people are in each branch, so you can see how full it is. All you have to do is download and scan the QR code at the entrance by the turnstiles to add the My Gyms tab. It literally shows you like branch number 21, address 9 out of 50, 18% full. She would refresh the app in the morning, and if it went up by 1, around 6 to 6:30, and she heard me go downstairs or use the elevator, not hard, when it's 6 a.m. and the apartment is otherwise silent, then she would know the house was empty. Now for the creepiest, most messed up bit of it all. She put an AirTag on my car. She insisted that she had only put it recently and initially just presumably gambled that I wouldn't be home sooner than expected. Or maybe she just put an ear to the door. But one thing led to another, and yeah, I don't know how much I believe this. Again, it could be an attempt to look not so guilty. So that day when we clashed, she refreshed the app and saw I left the gym. But then my car didn't move and she connected the dots and tried to leave as soon as possible. When she heard me coming up the stairs, she didn't have time to lock it up. So we met on the stairs with my door remaining closed but not locked. Extra detail. The AirTag was stuck under my car. Using my shower. She claims she didn't do it always, just on hot days or days she couldn't at home. I can't deny or confirm this. Like I said previously, being a gym goer, I'd shower 5+ times a week. So I don't know why I put the so on there. How did her parents never notice? Well, the dad leaves early for work, 5-ish, since his bus route starts around 6. The mom is up around 6 to 7, but she's preparing for her own students for the day and her own kids to send to school. She wasn't too bothered by what her eldest 20-year-old daughter was really doing. She'd just say, I'm going to the college library, I'm going to my girlfriend's, and that was good enough. I mean, she is an adult. She can come and go as she pleases. Did she have a thing for me, like a crush? Police friend didn't really say anything about this. Presumably, he never asked since it's not important as the other details or never came back. It makes a little difference. How's my standing with the family right now? The mom and dad both apologized to me, the mom via text and the dad in person at my door. He offered to pay for the camera and it installed as his daughter was the direct cause of it, but it was cheap off Amazon, so I said, no, it's fine. We had a 10 to 15-minute conversation, and he was very apologetic and explained his daughter had always been extremely quiet and well-behaved, so something like this would never have crossed his mind in a million years. He added that the daughter's never had a boyfriend, at least that he knows of, and only has a few friends so her social interaction skills aren't necessarily top notch, and that even when the guests would come, she'd hide in the spare room. So, to the few people who predicted that maybe COVID or lockdown led her to not having good social interaction skills, you were half right. He again offered me money for my troubles like missing food, new locks, and cleaning, etc. But I felt bad enough already and I declined. This is a nice guy. OP's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He did also ask if I was press charges again, and I said no. More on that below. He said he will send his daughter to apologize to me in person too when the situation has calmed down, and she's apparently very, very tense and upset and hasn't left her room in days. Poor kid. I kind of feel sorry for her too. Am I going to press charges? No, but I'm still not happy about the situation, especially the wanging AirTag on my car. But the family is apologetic as well as the culprit herself, and honestly, no one is going to gain anything from this. I would like an apology, though. For anyone who cares about the extra details, she got the AirTag as a gift a while back from her parents because she kept losing her stuff. Have I seen her since? No, she apparently won't leave her room and is terrified that I'll press charges, though presumably her family's told her I said I won't. How do I currently feel? Well, it was never especially worried or nervous, just really, really creeped out by the whole situation. It felt like I'd been a parasite host and someone never even noticed until then. I currently still feel a little angry and a small part of me thinking to seek revenge, but any revenge I seek, like money or slander, is truthfully going to impact the parents more than her. Do I feel bad for you? Her. Truthfully, no. She's not 10, she's 20 years or something and educated. So yeah, you should feel or most feel guilty, scared. Get over that hump and we'll talk. Plus, there's loads of space for young adults, like public libraries or college spaces. By no means was my house the only viable option. Yeah, but it was right there. She did do a lot of crazy crap, though. She probably needs some counseling because you shouldn't be like changing other people's locks and eating their food. I can understand going in there and doing homework or something, but yeah, not without permission, dude. Come on. Maybe she should have asked permission. Say, hey, I know you're not home all day, and these kids are driving me nuts. Do you mind if I go and like hang out in your house for a little while? I mean, I might let a kid do that. Did she use my bed or wear my clothes? Believe it or not, yes, she did. Any advice I can give? Check your Wi-Fi devices. If I had checked that, I would have noticed her phone and laptop all the way back when. Obviously, my Wi-Fi modem is in my house, so she helped herself to that. Again, it's one of those things. How often does one check their Wi-Fi devices? I don't ever check my Wi-Fi device because I have it password protected. So people have to ask for password to get on it. Truthfully, with all my family visiting me and their devices, I probably wouldn't have noticed one extra phone amongst the existing 10 plus, but 100% would have noticed the extra one laptop. So let that be a lesson to y'all. Yes, I have removed her devices from the list and changed my password. Good. Oh, is your password so easy? Cal L of Krypton says, I'm concerned that she only wanted space because why the hell would she need to wear OP's clothes? Yes, that is a good point. I wouldn't be surprised if she was infatuated from afar and saw her chance to play pretend once the girlfriend was out of the picture. Apple Penny says, yeah, the wearing his clothes and sleeping in his bed pushed it from needing some space to she is either in love with you or wants to wear your skin. Yeah, that's creepy. Happy Orica says, this is more than wanting peace and quiet. This is psychotic. She just needs to see somebody for sure. Joby Jojo says she knew the lock barrels were standard set. A locksmith did what? Water Devil says, and the locksmith isn't in trouble for this. He should lose his business insurance with a snafu. Yeah, I would get in the home locksmith and like wail. Next we have Made Me Smile. It says, Dad, spend some time with your kids. And yes, they should. When I was 5, my dad woke me up at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday and had me come downstairs to our living room. He sat me in front of a chair on our old CRT TV and handed me a PlayStation controller. I asked what was going on. He told me that he had unlocked all the characters in Tekken 3 and he wanted me to play. I reminded him it was a school night and he said I wasn't going to school. I was going to play Tekken with him. This is my favorite memory of the man I am losing today. I love you, Dad. Thank you. Now I want to cry. My dad got me up in the middle of the night to watch the moon landing when I don't even remember it. I was just so tiny. I was like 3, maybe. My stepmother was mad. She was mad about everything. She didn't care. Laughing RO says, my dad woke me up at like 3 a.m. because there was a meteor shower and it was a clear night and I can't remember how the sky looked, but I remember my dad wanting me to see it. It's been 5 years since he passed. Callista Moonwolf answers, my family and I had a couple of those moments when I was growing up. I remember lying on a sleeping bag in the front yard watching a meteor shower with my sister and my mom. Or the time all 4 of us sat outside in lawn chairs and watched this amazing massive lightning storm roll in. I hope my kids always remember the time we jumped in the car to drive up the street to watch a lightning storm. We live halfway up the lower peninsula of Michigan, and there was a lightning storm in Ohio that you could see. And we hopped in the car, all 5 of us, and went to see if we could chase it down, which we couldn't. It was too far away, but it was a wild storm, and I hope they always like that. Calissa Mumas, okay. Neorex says, 2 great dad memories. My dad was working on one of the family cars when it rolled down the driveway over him. He had a hairline fracture in his vertebrae. As a pilot, he couldn't fly or work. He was in a back brace and stuck at home for weeks. He was watching me play the original Legend of Zelda game when I was probably 7 or 8 and get frustrated with the dungeons. So while watching me play, he started making maps of all the dungeons on index cards, keeping notes where the moving blocks, bomb walls, and items were. We ended up finishing the game together because he would be the navigator telling me where to go from the maps. Second best memory was when he pulled me out of school every Friday to see Gladiator because he didn't want to wait for school to be out. We went to a lot of movies together when I was a kid. He's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, so I was looking in his office desk for some papers. I found a folder in the back drawer. It was full of ticket stubs from the movies we saw together when I was a kid. Ergel says, reminds me of the time I saw Instagram reels. They were like, you can just make memories for my kids. And they got them out of bed to get ice cream randomly. The kids are so happy. Simple things can be so magical. That's all I have for today. That was very sad. Happy, sad. Happy, sad. Poignant. Bittersweet. All right, y'all have a good evening. I'm going to drag the stupid power cord out there, and I'm going to do a bunch of reality TV for you. So I'll have that for you tomorrow. A bunch of stupid reality TV. I might break it up. I might break tomorrow's up because I can do that. But right now, I'm going to go to the grocery store and get some foods and maybe some pizza. I don't know. It depends on how I feel. I'll have to look up how to get the pizza. I haven't done that in a while. From that store, anyway. All right. Have a good day, biddies. Love you all. Take care. Behave. All that stuff. Be a nice biddy. Love all my biddies. Bye. Bye-bye.